There's a stronger case to keeping Jackson than you might originally think. It also might be worth shifting him onto Alvarez. I'll discuss that in this video, but another player that I'm considering shifting on is Pickford. He's got Brentford away and Turner sits on the bench because he faces City away. Now there are obvious reasons why I would shift Pickford on, but also it would be the player that I'm bringing in. If I'm planning on wildcarding in game week 9 for the big fixture swing, then I would probably get the Luton goalkeeper for that additional fixture. Like I always mention, there's not many points in the goalkeeper position, so the ceiling's not that high. That additional fixture is actually quite big. That of course would only be a short-term punt. I don't think he's a good player to hold in the long term, and the problem is I don't know if I'm going to wildcard in game week 9 yet. I've had a look at the potential transfers up until the potential game week 9 wildcard. I'm not really drawn towards any of them apart from the double game week players. Obviously there's Morris, then you've got the goalkeepers from Luton and Burnley, but that's about it to be honest with you. I don't really fancy many players in that double anyway. So right now for me the plan is to use free transfers to navigate through it. I am still open to the wildcard in game week 9, I just want to keep my options open right now. Anyway, as this goalkeeper rotation, I knew that game week 6 was going to be the most difficult game week. The easiest fixture out the two is Brentford away, and that's still not easy. But after that, Everton's got Luton at home, Brentford at home. I know it's the Everton defence, but fixtures do tend to bring form. Obviously it's not done so far with Everton, but it could do. Honestly, I feel like a goalkeeper transfer isn't worth it right now. I might do in game week 9 or 10 when there's a big fixture swing for the goalkeepers. Moving on to defence, I've got Trippier against Sheffield United away. This is the start of the easy fixtures for Newcastle. If you've not already got a Newcastle defender, I would start bringing them in now. I got ahead of the curve by bringing him in last game week, and I got 8 points for him, but the ship has definitely not sailed. That was against Brentford, which isn't an easy fixture, but Newcastle bossed it. Next up is Diaz against Forest at home. That's a nice easy fixture, and I'm expecting City to keep a clean sheet there. But am I expecting Diaz to start? Yeah, probably, but the Champions League has just started, and this is around about the time where Pep Roulette kicks in. Obviously, you still keep your City players for the easy fixtures. That's unless the expected minutes drop drastically, but of course there's a high upside there, so try and keep them if you can. Speaking of players with risky expected minutes and a high upside, I've also got Chilwell against Villa at home. Personally, I don't think it's worth selling Chilwell. I know he got benched last game week, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen this game week. Of course it means there's a higher chance and we've got to be cautious. If we get leaked team news that he is going to be benched, of course we would sell him, probably for a Newcastle defender like Botman, but for now I think he's worth keeping because of that high upside. He's probably got the highest upside of any defender in this game at the moment, because of course he could play in the left wing, or even if he plays at left wing back he's still a good option. Of course he has got that high downside now as well. I think it's worth rolling the dice though. Moving on to midfield, I've got the United midfield double up of Rashford and Bruno. They've got Burnley away, so I definitely wouldn't go selling them. I know they've been underwhelming so far, but that is an easy fixture. After that, they've got Palace and Brentford. They've got decent defences, but United have still got the home advantage. Then after that, they've got Sheffield United away, another easy fixture, so I would be keeping them for at least 4 more fixtures. Saka is next against Spurs at home. Obviously it's a North London derby, so it is a volatile fixture where it could very easily go either way, but Spurs don't have the best of defences, and he has got the home advantage at the Emirates. That's not too bad of a fixture in my opinion. Then he's got Bournemouth away next game week, and that's quite easy. I might sell him after that though because he's got City at home, Chelsea away, and Newcastle away in 3 of the next 4 fixtures, and they're all difficult from an attacking perspective. I'll probably use his funds in combination with another player to get to Salah, and of course it frees up that midfield spot for him as well. Next up is Sterling against Villa at home. That's a pretty average fixture. Then after that he's got 2 easy fixtures against Fulham away and Burnley away. Yeah, they're away from home, but Burnley are a promoted team who haven't yet proven themselves in defence, and Fulham have got the worst defensive numbers so far in the whole league this season. The problem is, there's not many chances left for the Chelsea players to provide in those easy fixtures. Once those 3 fixtures are over, it becomes very difficult in that fixture swing, so I hope we get something out of them then, because so far it's not been very good. The last player in midfield is Mbeumo against Everton at home. That's a decent fixture. I know he didn't get anything last game week, but to be fair it was against Newcastle away, and they've got one of the best defences in the whole league. He has got a decent block of fixtures now. Not only is it Everton at home, he's got Forest away, United away, that might sound difficult, but from an attacking perspective, United don't have the best of defences at the minute. Then they've got Burnley at home as well. Before we take a look at the forward line, my bench isn't that strong this game week. I've got Bayer against United at home. Yeah, from an attacking perspective, it isn't too bad, but from a defensive perspective, it's not that easy. Now, my next two players are both from Sheffield United, and they're both flagged in the game. It is Asula and Baldock. They've got a difficult fixture against Newcastle at home, so probably only bring a 1 or 2 pointer off the bench anyway. To be fair, this is being recorded before the press conferences. They might get cleared of their injuries, I'm not sure yet, but it's looking like I'm not going to have much depth on the bench. I did actually consider Asula to Morris because I've got enough money to do that. It would provide more depth on the bench. I'd have 8 attackers that I could switch every game week. And Luton have got easy fixtures, but then it ties up 1 mil in that bench slot, and it's not going to be good when I'm trying to get to Salah. I need all the funds that I can possibly get. Up front, of course, I've got Haaland against Forest at home. He's going to be my captain this game week, and I'm really happy that I captained him last game week and didn't bring in Son. And lastly, he's a very frustrating player. It's Jackson against Villa at home. Like I said with Sterling, they've got 3 easy fixtures left. But to be fair, Alvarez has got a few easy fixtures as well. Now, one thing I want you to do with Jackson is try and keep an open mind that he isn't a bad finisher, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, I understand that he's underperformed his underlying stats at Chelsea this season by -2.7, and that is not good. But to be fair, you need to remember that it's based on a small sample size as 442 minutes. But before joining Chelsea, he overperformed his underlying stats by +3.1, and that is a considerable 2,483 minutes. So if you're going to sell him this game week, I wouldn't sell him because you think he's a bad finisher, because he's not. If we consider the underlying stats, Jackson's non-penalty goal involvement per 90 minutes so far this season is 0.75, Alvarez is 0.59, and his expected goals is 0.67. Alvarez is only 0.37. Now, I am going to be fair and say that it's based on a small sample size of 5 matches. So to be fair, those underlying stats aren't much to go off. But then you can also say that Alvarez's returns aren't much to go off either. He's overperformed his underlying stats. And if you're going to go off any indicators, I would go off the underlying stats, because they are better at projecting future goals and assists and actual goals and assists themselves. Even if Alvarez is a better finisher, it isn't sustainable for him to keep outscoring Jackson if those underlying stats stay the same. Of course they could change, but obviously that's what we're basing it off. Another thing to consider is expected minutes. Pep said Alvarez is almost undroppable. You could look at that in a positive way. You could also look at that in a negative way, because it doesn't mean that he's actually undroppable, just almost undroppable. And I would take with a pinch of salt what Pep says, because we all know that he says that about players, then he does rotate them, especially right now when the Champions League's on. Something that isn't in Jackson's favour is that he's had 4 yellow cards. If he gets a 5th one, he gets a suspension. The good thing is, at the start of every game week, we'll know whether that's the case or not. If that was to be the case, we'd just sell him. I'm not trying to put you off Jackson to Alvarez. I just think there's a stronger case to keeping Jackson than most people originally think. So in my opinion, I don't think there's much between them. If you've only got 1 free transfer, I would actually keep Jackson. If you've got 2 free transfers and a fire to put out, I'd also keep Jackson. But if you've got 2 free transfers, you've not got any fires to put out, if you prefer Alvarez, I would go for him. If you are going to go for Alvarez, I would keep your eyes peeled for the leaked team news before the deadline for City. But in my position, with there not being much between them, I'd rather have Jackson than the free transfer. If you've made it to this point in the video, you've clearly gained value from it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of these videos.